Hi guys, it's Chris with City Girl Homestead. Time for Thankful Thursday. I didn't think this was going to be this difficult, but it's going to be, so I've already got everything out, so we're going to do it anyway. But before we get started, I was praying last night and I said, can you please give me an idea of what I want to talk about tomorrow, what I should talk about tomorrow? And well, if he spoke to me in my sleep, I don't remember it. Well, every day I get up and I watch either one longer show of a pastor called Jack Hibbs. I really like him. Or two of the other shorter shows that pop up on my YouTube. Well, I watched Jack Hibbs today, and he spoke of something that I think all of us have to some degree. Well, maybe not. Maybe some people had perfect childhoods and all that good stuff. But he talked about scars and healing from them. So, and I don't mean just facial scars or whatever, but emotional scars. So, if you ever get a chance, go over and look at him. He's pretty good. So the verse that I picked for it today was, it is 2 Corinthians 12, verse 10. That is why, for Christ's sakes, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. It made me think about that song that we learned as kids. Jesus loves me. Yeah, that one anyway. So, yeah, I want to lead off in prayer. If you don't pray and if you don't believe, that's okay. You can stick around for the recipe and the talk. That's fine. Because not everybody believes the same way. So, anyways, all right. Dear Heavenly Father, I ask that you wrap your arms around with every single person that's watching this today, and that you be with them and you lift them up. And I think that you led me to Jack Hibbs' sermon today because I think it's something that we all should cover and talk about. And sometimes that doesn't happen, so we're hoping that it helps today. I ask that you you hold everybody up that needs help with physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, whatever they need, if you can be there for them. Because I know that you say in the Bible, ask and you shall receive. We're asking for those things, dear Jesus, and we ask that you help them out with the things that they need. Every one of us in this day and times, we all need help with something, and we depend on you. We don't depend on the government. We don't depend on other people. We depend on you. And we know that if we ask, you'll give. And it may be in your time, not in ours, but we'll get what we need. I want you to know that we love you and that we appreciate you. And even though the world seems really, really wicked right now, believe me, there's a lot of us out here that still love you, still have faith in you, believe in you, and want you in our lives. I say all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So, I was going to make a Texas sheet cake because I've never made one before. But I remember somebody bringing them into the cab company when I used to work there. And I loved it. It was so good. So, I thought, well, I'll make that. But this is going to be for my son, but I wanted some too. So I thought, well, I'll make a sheet cake, and then I'll make two, blah, 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 whatever. So, I'm like, no. And Tom's like, what are you going to do? Change everything you were going to make? And I go, no, I'll find something. So I found Texas sheet cake bites. So that's what we're going to do. That way I can split them up with my son. And we're going to add a little bit to the frosting too. All right, so I didn't know I had to cook everything, believe me, or we wouldn't be doing this. So what we need is a cup of butter in our pan right here. I'm not much into difficult recipes, if you guys have noticed. I like easy cooking. I like easy baking. Who are we kidding? So we're going to get this started, and then we'll start talking. Alright, so we got that. And then we need, it says, combine the butter and water, 3/4 of a cup of water. And the cocoa powder, which is 5 tablespoons of cocoa butter, or cocoa powder, cocoa butter, Yeah, don't put cocoa butter in there. That'd be kind of gross. So we got 1, 2, and you got to do this for the frosting too. I'm like, that is way too much work. No wonder I never made it before. But I remember it, and it's been over 30 years ago, but it was so good, you guys. So I thought, you know what, let's try it. And if it's really that difficult and I don't taste that great, guess what? We will never do it again. I guess that takes care of that. All right, so now we're going to put that on low, get everything melted into it. So that's the first part. Okay, so the second part is, well, it's actually the first part, but we're doing it so that we can get it all done at once. We need 2 cups of sugar. I know it seems like a lot, doesn't it? So there's 1 and 2 cups of sugar. I had Tom get most of my stuff out before he left today. And then I need my flour. We need 2 cups of flour. There's 1 and 2. And then we need to get the lid back on. Then we need a teaspoon of baking soda. And we need a half a teaspoon of salt. There we go. I can hear the noise over here already, so must be it means I need to stir it. I'll tell you something else that's a nemesis of mine. And that is, I love no-bake cookies, but most of the time I can't get them to set up. And this kind of reminds me of a no-bake cookie thing. I'm just going to kind of mix that together just a little bit. I used up the rest of my buttermilk powder, so I have to order some of that. But, because I don't use buttermilk very often. I probably had that over a year. I need to turn this down just a little bit. We don't need it getting burned. And in the meantime, heat your stove up to 325. Excuse me. This weather is just ridiculous. So anyway, when it was talking about scars, you know, I hope that you didn't have a rough childhood. I really do. I hope that it was amazing and magical, and, you know, nobody ever teased you, or there wasn't any physical or mental or emotional sexual abuse, you know, growing up. And I hope that it was perfect like that for you. I really do. But that's not the case for everyone. And sometimes it's not even our childhood. Sometimes it's first relationship. Sometimes it's, you know, boyfriend-girlfriend things. Who knows? It could be a list of things. And I noticed that I had lived with a guy when I was 17 for 7 years. And he was abusive. And, you know, you tend to jump right into the next thing, right? So then you didn't heal from your childhood wounds. You didn't heal from the past relationship wounds. You just moved right into something new. And, well, at least I did. And, you know, when they talk about baggage, you take that baggage with you. And sometimes that's not so healthy. All right, let's get the rest of this done here. We're going to put this down. All right, and then we're going to pour that into that. Yummy, huh? And I'm going to start mixing that up right now. And it says you need a half a cup of buttermilk. And you need, I'm going to let that mix for just a little bit. I don't want to get my eggs to harden up at all. And then you're going to take 2 beaten eggs and put them in there. And you're going to let that stir. Alright, so while that's mixing, hopefully it's not too loud. Oh, it's beautiful though. Won't take long. But, sometimes even though we don't mean to, we take things from one relationship to another. And maybe we strayed from God. Maybe we did other things, you know what I mean? And so I decided, after my divorce, that, A, I was never going to get married again. That I decided pretty quickly. My dad even said, before he died, he goes, "You'll never get married again." And I go, "Probably not." And it wasn't that my ex-husband was so abusive, but it doesn't mean that they have to hit you to make it abusive. He's a good guy. He's never grown up. He's seen my grandsons once since they were born. He's not responsible enough to be a dad. He's a great guy. I mean, he's not mean, nothing like that, but he's still very spoiled and a baby. But I think that we have issues too. Anybody that says a divorce or breakup or whatever is all one person's fault, unless they were really abusive or something, that's not true. That is not true. You know, we carry stuff, we do things ourselves. And, you know, if we want to deny it, that's fine. But I think what I had to do to heal was I needed to fix me first. And I know that, you know what, that's a hard thing to do because, you know, who wants to admit that we got any issues? I certainly don't. And I don't think any of us do. Now, things from childhood traumas, hold on. I needed to make more room, sorry. So we're going to use the mini muffin pans. And I'm going to take my little scooper here. And I'm just going to pour it in. It says about 2/3 full. This is going to be a messy one, I can just tell already. But anyway, when my dad said, "You'll probably never get married again," I said, "You're probably right." And, whoa, that was too much. And I decided that, you know, I had boyfriends and stuff like that, but I wasn't dating for marriage, if that makes sense. I was dating to just have company and go out to dinner and, you know, have fun, things like that. I wasn't looking for the marriage thing. And I was with one guy for almost 3 years. And then I was with another guy for 1 year. And actually, he's the first one that made me think about getting married. Sorry about that, guys. My son called, so I talked to him for a few minutes. So I filled the entire mini muffin pan up with the mixture. And then I don't have another mini muffin pan, so I put them in little pie tins. And we're going to make those too. We don't need to get right on to the frosting yet, so we'll talk. We'll chat. Because I need to wash the dishes before we can do the frosting. Anyway, so I was saying, so the last boyfriend actually, he made me think about marriage again. And then we broke up. And to get him upset, I actually put my profile back on Craigslist. And I figured it'd make him mad, but that's okay. And actually Tom answered it. Because I was headed up north that day. And was talking to my dad, who is dead, by the way. But I said, if you can put in a word for God, I'm ready. And I've taken the time to heal myself and figure out what I did wrong in my marriage and my previous relationship to the things that I did wrong. Even though the first relationship had abuse in it, second one too, it doesn't mean that they did it on their own. Do you know what I mean? Like, physical abuse, there's no excuse for it. None. But, you know, did I do things differently? And did I do things that I shouldn't have done, whatever? I don't mean, like, abuse or anything like that, but, you know. So I asked, after my divorce, I asked God, you know, help me heal through this. Help me heal, you know. And help me to see my mistakes, you know, because I pulled away from God after my divorce because I figured I was going to burn in hell forever. Because you're not supposed to have divorces. And I'm going on about everything today. But, you know, I think that I needed his guidance to show me the things that I had done wrong. I was bitter in so many different ways, you know, that I didn't want no man telling me what to do. Because I had to build those defenses up. And that's something with scars that we tend to do. We build up, you know, like if you keep cutting the same spot, you know, when you're cooking or whatever, eventually it becomes calloused. And that's what happens with us and our hearts and our minds and our thoughts and our affection and everything else. We become calloused. We try really hard not to be that way. But, you know, a lot of times it ends up that way. So I think that, you know, when I seen that today, I was like, wow, that is what I need to talk about. Because all of us carry luggage, baggage, whether it's just a little carry-on tote or it's a great big wheelie bar one, you know. We all have something. And like with Tom, for instance, he didn't divorce his wife. His wife died after 28 years. She died in May, and he met me in September. He was just looking for someone to go out and have coffee with or whatever. He'd been married for 28 years, you know, and it was very lonely. Well, he fell for me. I did all the right things. But, you know, even he would have baggage because, like, he used to say when we first got married, he goes, my wife. And I'm like, I am your wife. You know what I mean? And so now you'll hear him say his late wife. But he didn't talk about it much. And I'm like, you know, you can talk about her. And I even say it now, you know, I tell Nate, you know, anytime you want to talk about your mom, please do. And I tell Tom the same thing. You were with her for 28 years. There's got to be some feelings there that, you know, you want to work through sometimes. So the scars that we carry, is it just that little kid that goes, you're fat or whatever? And then, you know, and especially a lot of times in women, you know, when someone says that, it blows up because, you know, we already feel like we don't fit the mold of all the, you know, the beautiful women on the covers of magazines and whatever. So for someone to say you're fat or, you know, something like that, or your makeup doesn't look good, or, you know, you got small this or big that or whatever, you know, and so that can be scarring too. You know, it can be, you know, and for men, let's say you're really skinny and these other guys are big and buff and whatever, and, you know, they call you names or do whatever, and I'm sure that goes along with it too. So scarring doesn't have to necessarily be abuse. It can be what someone said. Like that comments the lady did the other day. I'm not going to lie. It really hurt. And Like, and then another lady commented today that because there's some of that whatever in the freezer, that all my food is freezer burnt. That's not true. That's a new freezer. It's only not even quite 2 years old. But if anything doesn't perfectly seal on it, then it'll do that. So then you take it out and it's fine again. And I looked up online, and even if it was freezer burnt, it will not hurt you. It just makes your food drier and it not as tasty. But I haven't come across anything that was freezer burnt. But sometimes those comments, even though you don't mean for them to hurt, they do. And maybe it's from something that you brought in from the past that, you know, somebody said or did that makes you more, you know, like, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping with that, reading that verse, and what I want you today to do is to think about things. Think about things that you may not have for a very long time. That, you know, maybe it was childhood or adulthood or work or relationships or whatever. You know, a death of a spouse or a divorce. And people that say, oh, you got a divorce, that doesn't, believe me, it hurts. It's a death of a dream. You married that person and you were going to build a life with that person. Believe me, divorce sucks. I've seen people that celebrate it and I'm like, you married this person you loved. You were going to have children and a family and a house and, you know, car and a dog and a cat and whatever, and now it's dead. And you're carrying on by yourself. What's to celebrate? Unless it was from a really bad abusive relationship. And again, like I say, if you are in a bad abusive relationship, get out of it. Get out of it. They don't change. They don't change. There are so many services now that wasn't available back in the day. So many services to help you get out of that situation. And please don't stay in it. And don't blame yourself. You know, just get out of it. Like, Tom actually lived not too far from the lady from the burning bed. I don't know if you ever watched that movie. He lived not too far from her, and he knew her neighbor. And she went through a lot. But, I'm rambling on. I know that there was a reason for me seeing that today. I think with the world right now, you know, is it called post-COVID or, yeah, after, whatever. I think that a lot of people have, you know, they were inside their home for so long that I think they forgot how to communicate, and they forgot, you know, I don't want to say it to be nice or whatever, but people seem so different now. I don't know if it's just me or maybe you guys have noticed it too. But we need to get back to where we think about other people's feelings and what we do. Like, you know, I told you I was working on road rage. There's so much of that crap out there, you guys. It's just, I don't know. But scars can come from anything. You know, maybe there's a scar that makes you flash back to a childhood thing or whatever. Like, I have the burns on my hand I can remember from being 4. And I have a hole in the middle of my hand right here and in the back from getting shot with a high-powered pellet gun when I was 10. You know, I have a scar on my leg that I was carrying the trash out of here, and my mom forgot to tell me she had a broken glass in there. And you could see my bone. I can remember, you know, cutting through my finger here down to the bone, and the doctor's like, it really needs stitches. And I'm like, I really don't want stitches, so he had to do other stuff. You know, those things we can remember too. So it could be physical scars, you know, like car accidents and you know, things like that. Like, the first accident I ever got, that I've been in 2 of them that sprained my back, and I think that's why there's so much back pain now. But I used to drive cab, and I was dropping somebody off, and I went through the parking lot, and this guy had just put his wife on a plane for 6 weeks, and he was going to be woohoo partying it on his own. He slammed into my cab so hard, it spun it around, and he hit it again. And I was fine at first, and then towards the end of the day, yeah, I had a hard time walking. I sprained my back pretty good. And another time, on my birthday, my sister was taking me out to get my license plate, my driver's license, and we had somebody T-bone us, and he was so mad because he came out and, you know, and he started getting in my sister's face, and I'm like, don't you dare. Well, that, I also ended up spraining my back. So maybe it's things like that that we've been through that leave scars. I'm rambling on. But today I want you to think about things that maybe hurt you. Maybe you didn't realize that it hurt you, and you're carrying that bitterness with you. Because sometimes I think people say stuff because, you know what, they may not even realize that they're being bitter or mean. I think it's just that they've got a shield up to protect themselves. And I think we all do, to some degree. We have that stay away part. You know what I mean? And I think that if we can figure out the triggers that make us feel like that or be that way, that maybe we can be kinder to everyone else. And, you know, if it takes counseling, that's fine. But I think a lot of times just praying to God and begging Him to, you know, help you. I'm going to tell you a very personal story. When I was 14, I babysat for this couple. And they had 2 beautiful little girls. And I would babysit there all the time. And actually the girl had, the lady I babysit for, she had a birthday close to mine. And, you know, her and I, even though we were 10 years apart, we got along great. And her and her husband split up. She took off with the kids. And she called me that night and she said, well, he's threatening to kill himself. Can you go down and check on him? And I says, well, I can go down in the morning. I mean, I'm 14. It's late at night. I can go check on him in the morning. I got to take his pan back that he had just given my mom some peppers. She's like, okay. I walked in, and he was in the chair. And I went up and touched him. This is why I think I don't like dead people. And he was cold. He had killed himself. And for nights and nights and nights, I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat and I couldn't do anything because I kept reliving that every single night in my sleep. And I told my dad, I says, I'm ready to take my own life because I can't move past this. They thought me going to the funeral and seeing him more peaceful would be more helpful. And I couldn't. And so my dad, you know, we talked to the hotline and everything, and I remember going to bed that night, and my dad had me sleep out on the couch, and I prayed to God. I said, God, you said you wouldn't give me more than I can handle, and I can't do this. I cannot function like this anymore. And do you know, to this day, I'm 57 years old. If I try to even scan up past his neck right here, I can't see his face. And if I do see his face, it's just, you know, a normal face. I don't see the hole anymore, nothing else. So I think that, I don't even know why I said that, but anyway, I think that there's scars that we carry, and that if we ask God to help us with those, I think He does. I think He takes away a lot of the pain and things from that we've experienced in our lifetime. But we have to remember to ask Him. It's not that He doesn't know what's wrong with us. It's not that He doesn't understand or realize. I'm getting all teary. He knows all of those things. But it's like I tell my kids, you know, what do you think, I'm a mind reader? And God does know. But unless we come out and we ask, can you help us with this, this, or this? Maybe He needs you to acknowledge that you've got that issue before He can help you. And so I tell my kids too the same thing. You know, if you tell me what it is you need, I can help you. Hopefully. You know, don't make me a mind reader. I know this was too deep today, wasn't it? Hold on, let me check the cake. Oh, they're looking good. And it says the batter was really thin. It's not that thin. I'm going to have a mess to clean up though, but that's okay. So today, you know, sit back and think of things that you think that could help you to move on. Because I think when people make nasty comments or they say mean things to people, I think it's because they're bitter and they're carrying stuff they shouldn't carry along anymore. And if we can get rid of those things, maybe we can be nicer to other people. And maybe if a bunch of people do that, then maybe the world would be a better place. And I think that sometimes we mask those scars. They were painful then and they're painful now. And sometimes the memories don't go away, but the healing can help. And like I say, you know, pray to God and ask for help. But if you need counseling too, please go do it. Or if you need to talk to a friend or family or confront your person that did something, do those things to make you feel better. And then forgive. Because forgiveness, everybody thinks is just a Christian thing, and it's not. If there's been people that have hurt you in the past, and if you don't forgive them, you're going to keep carrying that along. And then they're living rent-free in your head forever, and they're not worth that. So forgive them. Not for them, but for you. This video is going to be an hour long. I need to stop right now. Anyways, I'm going to let this cake finish, and then I'm going to wash my dishes like a good girl. And then we'll make the frosting, and we'll get them finished. Hopefully I don't take up too much more of your time. I do value your guys' time, and I love you that you take time to sit here and talk to me, and talk with me, I should say. Because I really do feel like there's 3,000 people sitting next to me. Let's just hope they're not spiritual and want to haunt me. I'll be back. Well, I ruined a few of them, but I still got quite a few left, getting them out. So, nobody's perfect. And so I have a bunch of little mini cakes here. I'm sure Jack will eat it all. He'll be happy with it. So, now we're going to make the frosting. So, we're going to take a half a cup of butter. I'm going to have Tom bring me up some from the freezer, too. Take a half a cup of that butter. I'll turn that on low and start getting it to melt. Then we need a third cup of buttermilk. And we need a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I gotta remember to put that on my list. And then we need 5 tablespoons of cocoa. I hope I didn't go too far off the ranch with you guys today again. I get to gabbing and, you know, 3, 4, 5. I get to gabbing and then, you know, it just goes on and on. But I know in my heart what I want to put across, but sometimes, you know, you don't come across the way that you want to, or you're not saying the things that you think you should, or, you know, you're second guessing whatever, and that sucks, kind of. But I hope you got the gist of what I was trying to say today. You know, I was talking to my son, and talking to him about, he doesn't believe in God anymore, but he still lets me ramble on. But, we were talking about the pain and the scars of his dad. And, you know, sometimes people leave scars and they don't even realize it. Or maybe they do. Maybe they do it on purpose. I don't know. I don't know. But if they do, that's a sad world. But anyway, so the big ones, I think I'm going to just go ahead and give to Christopher. And the little ones I'll keep for me and Tom. And that way they're easier, and then he just has to return the pan. That's a joke too, but anyway. Hopefully he comes home with the pans that he got last week. Alright, I'm going to let that get melted before I put my powdered sugar in there, and then I'm going to show you the addition that I'm going to do too. Okay, so now I turn the heat off to it, and I'm going to add a cup of confectionate sugar to it. Get that all mixed in there. Because I think it's supposed to be a little bit thicker of a frosting. Bring it down here. I'm going to get that whipped up really good because we don't want any chunks of anything in there. Alrighty. And then while I was talking to my son, I got these chopped up. I did some walnuts, and we're going to add that in there too. Because all the Texas sheet cakes I've ever seen has walnuts in it. So we're going to do the same thing. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spoon and I'm just going to drizzle it over top of that. Look at that. And yes, it'll be a mess, but that's okay. That's why I got that sheet underneath there. We're going to cover those up. Look at that. Look how shiny they are. Ooh. It's going to be beautiful. And then, of course, you want them to dry before you start eating on them because otherwise it's just going to drip all over the place. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? My hands are in the way too, huh? And I think I'll have enough frosting to do all 4 of those cakes over there. Look at that. Put a little bit more on that one right there. Alrighty, look at that. Now let's pull those big cakes over here. And I'll kind of just pour on there. And then spread them out a little bit. Whoa. That one went over the side. Which is fine. No big deal. I can clean them up before he picks them up. My countertop's a mess, though. Then we need a little bit more there. Awesome. So it's going to be a mess, but I'll clean it up. How does that look? Pretty cool, I think. I'll call Jack over here and mix the cake in with the frosting. Anyways, I hope that I didn't go off on too much of a tangent today, and I hope that you understood what I was trying to say, and that hopefully it touched someone. Because I feel like, I'm going to taste that frosting. That is so good. I feel like even if you've touched one person can change the world, you know. That's all it takes. One person. I'm going to put a little bit of frosting on this piece that I took out so I can taste it. That's what I remember. It was so good. So thank you for being here and let me blabber on. And like I say, I hope it touched someone today. And I hope that if you guys have time today, kind of think about the things that you're scarred from, and that maybe you could either get counseling or talk to someone, or, you know, pray to God and ask him to help you. He does listen. Even if we think that he doesn't, he does listen all the time. It's just, he does things in his time. He's a pretty busy guy. So, whether you believe in God or not, you know, if you have those scars, reach out and let somebody help you heal. Because healing is a good thing. It is a really good thing. And it can lead to a lot of good things and beautiful relationships. Remember that I love you guys with all my heart, and I truly mean that when I say it. Know that I appreciate each and every one of you, and I love sitting here with you. And you're helping my dreams come true as well. And that's a good thing. So, I love you guys. Have an amazing day. And I'll be back for another supper with meat in a jar. God bless you guys. Be a blessing. Be blessed. And I'll see you at supper.